This is 100 days of bringing my startup to life. We're on day one with nothing, and hopefully over time, in the next 100, 200 days, we'll see, hopefully this will become something. So here's the idea. Right now, lots of people are using life insurance and are basically paying the same rate for their entire lives based on their health conditions when they first bought the insurance. This is because renewing an insurance policy is really inconvenient for both an agent and a customer, since it requires tons of background information, which is a pain for an agent to acquire and sort through, but also pretty bad for customers because they require background checks that tank credit score. My goal is to make a program that will dynamically update insurance premiums depending on a customer's health to better reflect their actual chance to require a payout. If they seem to be in good health, then the likelihood of a payout will be lower, so their premium will also decrease. But if they have habits that will lead to poor health, their premium would then increase. This is all well and good, but I need to first have something to show so that this video isn't all just a bunch of theory crafting and coding. I think a good place to start is making a logo for this whole thing. Right now, I don't really need anything too fancy or super refined. I just want to have something as a placeholder for a logo that will work while I'm focusing on making the program and a website for it. So, like the good graphic designer I totally am, what are you talking about? Of course I'm great at it. Why else would I be majoring in computer science instead of art? I'm just gonna have ChatGPT make it for me. So this is the first iteration that I got out of ChatGPT, and looking at it, I immediately realized that I totally forgot to give Chat what the name of my startup was actually going to be anyway. So we're going to have to run this back through and update that. So this version was alright. It had the name of the startup, so that's at least one box ticked off, right? But I still didn't really like how complicated the logo looked, and I wanted something a little simpler, so I threw it back into Chat. Honestly, not bad. Looking back on it now, I think I actually do kind of like this version, but at the same time, I still thought it was just a little bit too complex, so I had Chat run one more time to remove the head out of the way. Here, I just really did not like the blocks being there. It felt really off having all of that empty space in the middle, and everything just kind of felt unbalanced. So I put Chat back to work again, removing the blocks, and just leaving the shield bit. At this point, I'm pretty satisfied with the overall idea, but I really thought that Chat was going to center the shield for me without me asking, which I guess now that I'm saying it out loud sounds pretty silly. I considered having Chat do it again, but this time putting the shield front and center, but I figured I could honestly just do that part myself instead of risking having to do too many more queries off Chat. So you'll see me on Canva basically just straightening out the photo or the image and then putting everything together in a way that I kind of want, and then eventually I set the background of the Canva to be black to match the rest of it, and I basically just take a picture and save it down for my own use. So at this point, I get pretty fed up with trying to square off the image myself because I, for some reason, cannot figure out what a square looks like. And so I just kind of throw it back into Chat. But I do run into a little bit of a problem, and it's that I ran out of queries because I generated way too many images earlier. But not to worry, I just kind of move on to a different account and fix that anyway. So this is the final logo. I'm pretty happy with it, and as you might be able to tell, it's the logo for basically all the platforms that I'm going to be posting these things on. And it might change in the future, but for now it's going to stay like this, and I'm pretty happy with it, so I'm just going to move on. Moving on to the coding, I once again just kind of want to vibe code all of this for now, because all I really need is a placeholder, and I don't need anything super refined. So I'm on VS Code, and basically just using an AI bot there to write some code for me to make up this website. After the AI has generated the code for the website, I basically just take a quick little short look over it, and then I start going through the code for all of it. I personally kind of like this website. I think it looks pretty good. That is one thing that AI does really well, is just make things that look good. And so starting from here, I'm going to be essentially just looking through every single line of code that the AI has generated, and essentially just taking notes on everything. Here we run into our first little thing that I kind of stopped and took a look at. For a lot of people, this might not be anything crazy, but this was basically the first time that I had really interacted with a font stack. And essentially what it is it's just like a list of different fonts that your website will use for the text in case like the first one doesn't work and then the second one doesn't work, so it'll use the third one, that kind of idea. So this is the second portion where I really had to take a step back. So this was kind of my first interaction as well with flexboxes. Essentially, they're predetermined like positions and templates for different items to go into, and depending on your flexbox code and the properties that you give it, it puts stuff dynamically together. And so when you look at, say, the top right of the website and you see how it works, pricing, and talk to sales, if you see that those are evenly spaced, it's a flexbox, and it works really, really well for dynamically changing things and making sure that everything will fit together nicely, even on different size screens, which is super, super nice. So throughout my work kind of analyzing and auditing all of the code that the AI wrote, I actually do run into a couple of problems. There was a bit of code that basically didn't really work, or it had no real effect because somewhere else, I'm guessing, made it kind of redundant. And there was a bit of code that I basically couldn't figure out. Again, it was basically just like redundancies, and when I changed values around, it didn't really change anything. So in the future, I'm definitely going to be working on that to try and figure out why those things are happening. So that kind of concludes today's work. I decided to kind of just take a break after about an hour and a half. I have some other stuff to do as well, so that gets in the way a little bit. But I mean, it's okay. What can you do, right? But before I go, I do want to talk about a few things. First off, I learned a ton out of just vibe coding and looking over the code that an AI spit out for me. And even though that stuff is probably considered easy by most of the experienced HTML developer community, I will say that learning it this way, rather than through a website or something, has made things a lot more fun for me. Honestly, from personal perspective, I kind of recommend doing this for learning like elementary stuff. It definitely helps quite a lot and requires a lot less brain power than it would if you were basically just kind of to spitball a bunch of stuff and hope it all works together. Seeing a roughly fleshed out example and playing around with values made it a lot easier to understand. Now for my notes and what I have to do in the future. Starting with notes, I definitely had to put down that some parts of the code don't seem to do anything, and I need to look out for their effects in the future. And for stuff that I need to do, in the short term, I need to replace the logo placeholder the AI made, figure out how some padding works, and figure out how the grid template columns works. That last one is a property for flex charts, basically flex boxes, but in 2 dimensions, and I had thought that I figured it out when I first came across it in the code, but some digging revealed that it didn't work how I thought it would. Namely, when using 1FR to denote one column of items, I thought it would only create one column, but it had the capacity for 2 for some reason, and I wanted to figure that out for sure. Right now, my hunch is that the second item is kind of like an inner box, and that might be counting it as a different item or a different set of columns. I'm not too sure, but I'll try to figure that out. For long-term stuff, I need to move all of the CSS properties that you saw in the code earlier to a separate CSS file. Right now, it's super ugly, and I definitely want to fix that. For now, thanks for watching. I hope this whole thing was interesting and not a bore, and I'll keep making stuff like this moving forward. I'd also like to make shorts on this project, but while editing, I'm realizing this is taking a lot longer than I ever expected, so I'll have to change something up. If you don't mind, I would love to have support for making these videos rather than just sitting around coding, so subscribing and liking the video would help a lot in that direction. Thanks for following along, and I'll see you in the next one.